It was supposed to be the perfect day. Jamila had been looking forward to her birthday party for weeks, a chance to celebrate with her closest friends, including her best friend, Emily. Jamila and Emily had been inseparable for years, their bond growing stronger through every shared laugh, every secret, and every milestone. But this year, something unexpected was about to happen. The party started off great. Music blasting, smiles everywhere, and Jamila glowing with excitement. But as the night unfolded, Emily's behavior took a turn. It started small, interrupting Jamila during her speech, joking a little too loudly. But things escalated quickly. What began as thoughtless actions turned into something much worse, leaving Jamila humiliated on what should have been her special day. As the crowd grew quiet and tensions rose, Emily realized too late the damage she'd caused. What could she do now to make things right? Emily couldn't understand how things had gone so wrong. She had planned to make the party unforgettable, just not like this. The night started with good intentions, but deep down, Emily had been feeling out of place lately. Jamila had made new friends, and Emily couldn't shake the fear of being left behind. Maybe that's why she tried so hard to grab attention, to prove she still mattered. But her jokes were sharper than she intended, and her attempts at fun came off as careless. Jamila's face, once full of joy, now held a mix of confusion and hurt. The room felt colder, quieter. Everyone seemed to notice except Emily, who kept pushing, hoping laughter would fix things. By the time she realized the damage, it was too late. People whispered, Jamila avoided her gaze, and the weight of what Emily had done finally began to sink in. As the night dragged on, the atmosphere became heavier. Jamila tried to focus on her other friends, smiling through the sting of Emily's behavior, but it wasn't easy. This party wasn't just about turning another year older. It was a milestone, a celebration of everything she'd worked for and the people who stood by her. Seeing Emily, her best friend, acting this way felt like a betrayal. Meanwhile, Emily sat in a corner, replaying everything in her mind. She thought about the way Jamila introduced her to everyone as her ride or die. How proud she'd been to share this night with her. Emily hadn't meant to ruin anything, but now all she could feel was the weight of her own insecurities. The room felt too loud, too crowded. The other guests noticed the tension, their glances bouncing between Jamila and Emily. Was this just a misunderstanding, or the start of something much bigger? The music played on, but Jamila's heart wasn't in it anymore. She moved through the crowd, accepting well wishes with a forced smile. Her mind kept circling back to Emily. How could someone who knew her so well act so thoughtlessly on such an important night? Jamila glanced over at Emily, still sitting alone, her head down. Part of her wanted to go over, but another part felt too hurt to try. Then came the moment no one could ignore. One of Jamila's friends, sensing the tension, tried to lighten the mood by bringing everyone together for a group photo. But as they gathered, Emily made an offhand remark about the decorations, a jab that was louder than it needed to be. Jamila froze. Her guests exchanged awkward glances, unsure how to react. Finally, Jamila turned to Emily, her voice calm, but her eyes filled with disappointment. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, the question hanging in the air like a challenge. Emily looked up, startled by Jamila's question. The room went quiet, the music now a faint hum in the background. For a moment, it seemed like Emily might apologize, but instead, she snapped back, her voice sharper than intended. "Why am I doing this? Maybe because it feels like I don't even matter to you anymore." The words hung in the air, heavier than the silence. Guests shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to listen but unable to look away. Jamila's brows furrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "This is my asterisk birthday, Emily." Tonight isn't about you, she said, her voice cracking slightly. Emily stood up, her frustration boiling over. Exactly. It's always about you, Jamila. Ever since you got your new friends, I'm just the sidekick. Do you even care how I feel? The tension in the room erupted. Jamila's closest friends stepped in, defending her, but Emily's words had cut deep. As emotions flared, the fragile bond between them seemed closer than ever to shattering completely. The party was no longer a celebration. It was a battleground, and no one knew how it would end. The room felt like it was holding its breath. Jamila stared at Emily, her heart pounding with a mix of anger and sadness. You think I don't care? She said quietly, her voice steady but trembling. You're my best friend. I invited you here because I wanted you by my side, not tearing me down in front of everyone. Emily opened her mouth to respond but stopped. The reality of her actions hit her all at once. The looks from the other guests, the disappointment on Jamila's face. She hadn't meant for it to go this far. I'm sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know how to say I was feeling left out. I guess I let it build up, and then I ruined everything. Just as the room started to ease, someone from the back spoke up. Actually, I think there's something else you need to see. The voice belonged to one of Jamila's newer friends, who held up a phone showing a group chat. It was filled with screenshots of Emily venting about the party, mean comments about the theme, the guest list, even Jamila herself. Jamila's stomach dropped. She looked at Emily, waiting for her to explain. But Emily, stunned and ashamed, had nothing to say. In that moment, Jamila realized that this wasn't just about one bad night. It was a pattern she had ignored for too long. Taking a deep breath, she turned to the group. I think this party's over, she said calmly. The guests slowly began to leave, and Jamila didn't look back at Emily as she walked out. Later that night, as Jamila sat alone with the leftover decorations, she realized something. Sometimes letting go is the only way to truly move forward. And as for Emily, she'd have to live with the choices she made and the best friend she lost. In the days after the party, Jamila found herself reflecting on everything that had happened. Losing a best friend wasn't easy, but she realized she had been holding onto a relationship that no longer felt mutual. Friendship, she thought, should be about lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. Emily tried reaching out a few times, apologizing and explaining her actions, but Jamila knew things couldn't go back to the way they were. It wasn't about holding a grudge. It was about setting boundaries and prioritizing her own happiness. Surrounded by the love and support of her other friends, Jamila began to heal. Her birthday might not have ended the way she planned, but it taught her an important lesson about self-worth and the value of true connections.